Hey guys, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, of course. Um, I just wanted to jump on here. Um, I left off where I got in my testimony where I was beginning to be, uh, now that where the truth came out about the priest, and I was basically excommunicated from my family. My grandma and granddad felt bad, and they didn't know what to do. They were the only ones that believed me. What happened with the priest when it got exposed. If you have not seen the previous videos, they're down on my list on my channel. You can find them. My testimony. I made sure to put that in the title so you know which ones are the testimonials. So picking up kind of where we left off. A quick recap, that is. And, I believe I'll have to go back and check, but I believe I talked about how I would get taken down below deck where the crew members, the lowest crew members' quarters were down below deck, and, trafficked and preyed on and stuff. I was about 13. So, of course, going through my teen years, the few times I had a crush, I was really boy crazy, and not because I really had crushes on them. I was so confused that I thought, that that's what it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to find the boyfriend and all that. Everybody else had boyfriends. The guys that I liked, especially like John Threcold, John Goldberger, and a couple more. It was so funny because no one would date me publicly. Like, they were just, everybody, I was like this dirty little secret all my life, not just during the abusive times and stuff. I was rejected more than just through the little Valentine's mailboxes and Secret Santas, and when it was time to pick people for the team, I never got picked, and they had a hard time convincing the other kids to let me on their team. That spirit of rejection was so incredibly strong. I was literally rejected from every angle. There was a couple of teachers that were really wonderful to me. Miss Bales, Miss Lubavitch, Miss Eaton, Miss Bruno. Thank God for those couple teachers, because everyone was cruel. Otherwise, the principal was very kind. The library lady, the school store lady, janitor lady that would see me in the bathroom. I would use excuses to go to the bathroom and cry, and had to throw up from nerves. So these guys, I'm sorry, except for Justin Lewandowski. Thank you so much, old friend, for that little tiny, like, couple weeks we dated, and the one time we went to the movies and you were the only one who was not treating me like a plague, like you were afraid to be seen with me. Thank you for being the one that treated me with dignity and puppy love. Love of some kind, in a life where someone could be so unloved. I don't know how I didn't die of a broken heart. So these couple guys that I was really crushing on it, I wanted it, like, when I went to the dances, I would really do it up, because I was, like I told you in one of my first videos, we were one of the first families in America to have cable vision, and so we got every new cable channel before anyone else had ever seen it in the world. HBO, Cinemax, Showtime, MTV, VH1. And we were exposed to some of the most racy, explicit things they had ever aired on television or anywhere without it being a dirty little secret. Movies with heavy sex scenes, and even one that had these teenage girls engaging, and I was eating it up. The devil had latched on to me. That witchcraft had just immediately, because I was so wounded, and I was so rejected and so alone and so unloved, that I thought maybe if I, imitate all that stuff the way these adults want me to do, and stuff that maybe, and if I dressed like these music video people and stuff, I was way ahead of all this risque, way too much skin stuff that all the girls dress like today. I was doing that from a very young age because that's what I was seeing on the new channels. No one else was. They were still seeing the fake wholesome stuff, and we weren't allowed to watch those shows like Full House and all that. My mom said it was all just trash. It's just junk. You don't need to watch that junk TV. But the funny thing was, she didn't stop us from watching those explicit adult movies, not porn, but, the newest regular movies out that were very, they had some very, like I said, a lot of extreme, vivid violence, sex scenes that no one had ever seen before on TV, much less on the big screen, unless they went to see one of the, I don't remember those movies, the ones with all the, nudity, college kids and stuff that they would make nerds and all that, right? But no one had ever seen this stuff come into the home. There wasn't VCRs and stuff, so you could go rent a movie from that just left the theater. Not yet, there wasn't. It was literally the very beginnings, Cablevision. I was about 5 or 6 when my dad was introducing those new channels into our home, because we would get them for free. He'd bring home a tote bag for my brother and I both, one for each of us. We'd use it for our school books and show off the new channel that was coming out. We had one for each one. Of course, like I said, HBO, Cinemax, Showtime, MTV. I think that's the order they came out in. And I was really messed up, So these guys that I had the crush on, like randomly, well, except for Jonathan Goldberger, he actually went to my school. The other ones didn't. I was too ashamed to try to. I knew nobody would ever date me in my school. You had no idea the ridicule, the mocking, the torment. I was so sad all the time. I still, that orphan spirit of grievance, rejection. I just felt like I was just like desperately clamoring for someone, anyone, please love me. I didn't understand why everybody kept throwing me away. Right from the beginning, it didn't make any sense. Even my own parents didn't want me, didn't like me. I didn't get it. What did I do wrong? I never understood. I always asked myself, what did I do wrong? What did I do? Was I born messed up? Was there something wrong with me when I was born that everybody sees and I don't? what is it about me that's flawed that they don't want? Like, they buy something at the store and realize that there's a flaw they didn't notice. And they just get rid of it, throw it out. It becomes secondhand. So I was basically trained up to believe that I wasn't worthy of love. That wasn't for me. So these guys, like, randomly, I would, you know, I would literally, like, I was so desperate. I can't believe I'm going to tell this part I have never told. I would literally go through the phone book desperately looking for phone numbers of people that went to my school, their parents' names. Because no one ever, you know, like, wrote me little notes or said, hey, call me, or, you know, hey, you want to be friends, want to be my best friend, and, you know, let's call and talk for hours and irritate our parents by keeping the phone busy. There was no call waiting. And so I would desperately search people out, hoping if I called, I just, you know, like, lied and said so-and-so gave me a number or something, or I saw you drop the paper that you gave your number on, and I just, I thought I'd call, never knew what to say. But when I would call and I'd get the right number, I'd ask for the person, and they'd get him on the phone, and I would hang up because I was so ashamed. I was always hoping somebody would see past whatever was wrong with me, whatever there was that was on me or wrong with me, that made people want to run away from me and not love me, not like me. I was just hoping all the time somebody was gonna see past that. No one ever did. So I would allow myself, out of desperation and utter emptiness, desperation for love, any kind of attention at all, please, anything. Because I got no positive attention whatsoever. I was so desperate just to feel loved or something that I would call these guys here and there and randomly end up meeting up with them, or they'd come pick me up, like, secretly on the other street or something, not where people could see them. And we'd, you know, go somewhere. John T would, you know, like, we would go, like, to where his friend Randy had his, like, Sanibel house, go to the pool in the middle of the night, and then he'd just take me back home and dump me off. And same thing with the other ones, like, it would just be random hookups, and I was always hoping so bad that one of these days one of them will fall in love with me and I'll finally have a boyfriend that loves me and wants to be seen with me. Wouldn't be ashamed of me. Everyone was ashamed of me. There's something wrong with me. I was just convinced of it. I was sure of it. So I just let them use me how they willed. Because I just wanted to be loved so bad. Thus, of course, continuing the cycle of abuse throughout my adult life, right? So I was going to this little private high school, Bell's Academy, and I was going to beauty school at Sun State Academy. Stepdad was paying for it after my mom suddenly decided to pick up and take off and move in with him, which he even was like, why did you just move in with me? he called me and asked me, and I said, I thought she said that you guys were in love or something. Oh, okay. He was a doctor, and he realized I was telling the truth, that she's mentally ill. And he felt terrible about what happened with the priest, because it was right after that she just suddenly picked up and moved in with him. Like, she was so embarrassed of me and that everything that happened with the priest, that that was her escape. She had to get away from me. She had to escape me because I was putting her to shame. She had herself convinced and tried to convince me that I seduced him. So, I don't know if I told you guys about the vision I had at this charismatic mass at this Catholic church on the beach, Fort Myers Beach, Church of the Ascension. Because, of course, when my mom was, trying to get us all to be Catholic with her when she came back from Italy, that was the first church we were going to. Oops, that wasn't very good, was it? Hang on. While I'm telling you, I'm going to fix this. So, oops. It's recording audio through the headset. I hope it was recording all this time. I'll have to go back and check it. I may have to re-record it. I hope not, because that's a lot of detail to go over. So, I think I can fix it by looking at it while I'm talking. No, I can't. Okay. So, they were going to have this, what they called a charismatic mass, and I thought, oh, well, what does that mean? I never heard of, like charismatic Christians or anything. So, I thought, naturally, common sense would tell you that a charismatic mass must have meant this priest had a lot of charisma, and he's very charismatic, and got a lot of spunk or something, or whatever. And he had these two women on podiums on each side of him, and as he was speaking in English, they started suddenly speaking in what I thought were other languages. I thought and they called them interpreters. I didn't know what that meant. Remember, I didn't know anything about charismatic Christians, okay? I didn't know anything about that at the time. Remember, please keep that in mind as I'm telling this story, so I don't have to keep saying it. That way you understand. I'm giving you the description of what it sounded like in my head, because I didn't know anything about charismatic Christians. So they had these women they call interpreters, and I thought they were interpreting in these different languages for people that must speak different languages that were there at the mass, because it was such a big deal that they might have all these living on the beach. There's this slew of different people, people from all over the world, so they speak different languages. So naturally I thought they were interpreting for them, and I thought they are really good. They are like interpreting like a million different languages, like that fast. Boy, I feel stupid looking back on it now. And but God needed me to be ignorant to it so that he could do what he was going to do, and I would be able to see it now with eyes to see and ears to hear on what really happened, right? And I was in so much pain because that was going on with the priest, those boys. I was skipping singing for the church on Sundays because my mother had decided that she would prefer to drink and didn't want to have to go to church anymore, and she'd let me take the car, thinking I was going to go sing in the choir and then lead the mass, sing in the adult choir, because my voice was too mature for the children's choir. And I was going to lead the 9:30 choir and then the 11 o'clock mass by myself. But I would go instead to this other guy John's house, Coey, in St. Carlos Park, and I would go there, and his dad would let me in. His mom was asleep or fixing breakfast or whatever, and they'd let me just go knock on the door to his room and go right in. And I would, have relations and literally leave. Go by a Catholic church on the way home and grab one of their bulletins so she'd believe me and go home. I couldn't take it anymore. I didn't want to be touched anymore. I didn't want him to look at me anymore. I didn't want him to, It was about the time I started turning away from singing and playing violin and giving up because the only gifts I had were now dirty. They were now tainted, and I didn't want them. It was like having dirty money from, I didn't even want the gifts. I didn't want them. Nobody cared. They were just dirty now anyway. So this Mass, I was, just really bored and stuff, not understanding what was going on, thinking I did, but not really. And so then he had everybody line up in the aisles, and he had the ushers to stand at the front. He called them catchers. He said, we're going to have some catchers up here. I had no idea what that meant. Thought maybe they were going to play some baseball, or they would play a little game when you get up there. You got to try to, like a little, I don't know, a sensory game or something. You got to catch something, throw something, I don't know. So when I got up to the front of the line, and I had watched him lay hands on everyone before me, and nothing special happened. I didn't know anything was supposed to. I thought you're just getting prayed over. And so it was my turn to get prayed over, I thought. And he laid his hand on my head and started speaking in a language I didn't understand. Because during the Mass, he had suddenly started speaking in tongues, other languages. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be the ignorant unsaved, so let me describe it as that, so that you understand what I was thinking at the time. I want you to, be able to put yourself there with me. And, that's how God has me tell my story. I hope that's okay with you guys. If it causes you pain to relive it with me, believe me, I understand. There are some parts you're probably going to have to skip then, when I get into the stuff in my 20s. So he laid his hand on my head and he started speaking in that one language that I didn't get. Because the women, when he would speak in a different language, would start speaking in English. And I thought they were just interpreting him. They were prophesying. Little did I know. And as he started to speak in this language, he suddenly got louder and moved towards me like something was happening. And all of a sudden, I knew he didn't push me because his hand was still there. I watched myself and I just went out. And I found myself just laying on the floor in the spirit realm. Now I know to be the spirit realm. And this beautiful, what I thought was an angel, huge white figure was in front of me with its hands stretched out towards me. And I saw, I thought maybe it was a special, healing hand angel or something, because there was light coming through the middle of its hands, and I didn't realize that was, where the holes were in Jesus's hands. And it was this beautiful white, looked like a robe of white fire, and the hair was just flying out. Remember the old Firestarter movie, little Drew Barrymore, and her hair would stick out? Well, this was like that, but not little blonde hair. It was long, white fire hair, and these eyes of fire. Red, fiery eyes looking at me. And this thing said, Stephanie, do not be afraid. I am with you always. I am with you always. Do not be afraid. And then I came to. And I was in this zone, which I know now to be like Holy Ghost lockdown, for days, weeks, right up until the phone call came from the state trooper and the investigator about the priest. He knew what was about to happen. He knew the direction my life was about to take. So I was going to beauty school. I was getting really, really nutty and wild. I was starting to hang out with these radio station DJs and trying to become a personality on the radio. Anything to get attention, anything to be noticed, liked, loved, anything. Desperate for love. Desperate to be liked. Desperate to finally be noticed and not just invisible, rejected, and alone, unloved, unlovely. I would think to myself, if I'm so messed up and there's something so wrong with me, why do they even keep me alive? Like, why am I even here? What was the purpose of my life at all? Because I have nothing to live for. I had nothing to live for. Nothing. As far as I knew. I had never been given even a shred of hope. Not even an eyelash worth of hope. Not even a mustard seed. Ever. By anyone. And, I was born a week late. I was supposed to be born on Halloween. I was born November 7th, and I always dedicated my life to that, because I was, of course, raised in occultism as well, and was very acclimated to it, and really worked on it myself from a very young age. The devil, like I said, introduced me to mirror magic and tarot cards and the instruction book and stuff. Found those in my mom's closet, and started literally training me up from childhood. Also using a lot of that secular stuff that no one else was seeing but us while I was first coming into the home. Because there were movies about, like witchcraft and Satanism and stuff, and I would really get into them. And I would purposely watch horror movies because I wanted that affliction. I craved the pain and the fear because that's all I knew. So I put myself in positions to experience that, because I didn't know how else to function. I was trying to find ways to numb the rest of the pain. And there was this one particular remote on Halloween at the Mill Bakery, Eatery, and Brewery. My mom had just given me the car in the house, like I told you, when she moved in with my stepdad. And I had all my beauty school books and equipment on the backseat floorboard of my little thing I would take into school with me every day. The beauty school, that is. And I was wearing a fishnet bodysuit underneath a trench coat. And yes, it was a thong. It was extremely shameful. I was 16. And I was a flasher for Halloween. And my nickname at the radio station, all that, was Giggles the Topless Wonder. Yes, Giggles the Topless Wonder. I would go to remotes and just suddenly be topless. And And that was my whole gig. I got a lot of free tickets to concerts and stuff. I never had anybody to go with, so I'd go by myself. Never could even sell the other ticket. The devil was determined, wasn't he? Pretty extreme. He wanted me all to himself. He knew what God had planned for my life, and he didn't want me to step into that. So he made sure to pull me in and woo me and bewitch me so that I would have no problem letting him use me for his purposes as a general in his army. Shoot, I was practically the fifth bride of Satan, and I was proud of it. I loved it. I brag about it. I had a slogan. As much as I hurt, people had hurt me. Here's my slogan. I would say, anything and everything that I can do to offend, hurt, or piss someone off, I'm going to do. I don't care how much I have to take off, considering clothing. I don't care how nasty I have to be in stealing someone's man just to do it, not because I wanted him, but just so I could get him to cheat with me and hurt the female, because females had always been so cruel as well. I didn't care if I had to manipulate or seduce even or intimidate a female into giving me what I wanted, but it was mostly men. That was the easiest because they preyed on me. I wanted to prey on them. But if there was a woman in their life, I wanted to make sure she hurt too. I wanted her to be betrayed because I had been betrayed all my life, and I wanted nothing more than to betray people and hurt them and make them feel the pain that I felt. And that's one of the main temptations the devil used for witchcraft, and I jumped in head first. I wanted to hurt people. I wanted them to hurt like me. I wanted them to know what it was like to be in that much pain, so much pain that if it was physical pain, you would die from it. I don't know how I didn't die from a broken heart. And walking around and enjoying this remote, drinking underage. I was almost 17, 16 years old. Fake ID and all that. I would soon start stripping. I had messed around and gone to the strip club with my friend that gave me the ID. Well, this female that I knew at the time, who gave me her driver's license when she got her new one at 21. And I ended up losing the keys to the car. Miraculously, a hole formed in the pocket of my brand new trench coat that had no holes in the pockets. And I lost the keys, and I left with one of my stripper friends from the strip club I was working at, and went to her house and was drinking buttery nipple shots all night in her little bar in her apartment, and woke up with the worst hangover ever, and called my mom to ask her if she could help me figure out what to do. And she said she got a call from the fire department that the car had exploded in flames in the parking lot, burned up completely. That was one of the very first acts of God's protection that I didn't recognize until, of course, I got saved. And I didn't even know what to do at the time. I had no beauty school books or equipment left. I couldn't afford to replace it. No car. And so I just started walking the half a mile to the local plaza, catching the trolley that goes to the beach and going to work at the strip club. Every day, and thus began the major transition in my life towards the destruction. From there on out, strip clubs, partying, eventually starting to have babies early. My first son at 19, destruction in my relationships that I tried to have ending up in drugs. So I'm going to leave it there, and we're going to get into the next portion. We'll be getting into, of course, me being trafficked by club owners directly after that and stuff, and how things spun out of control. And we'll move on towards my adult life where I started having babies. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. God bless.